Let's look at this a bit more in detail. And Jan Pospisil is a peace and conflict professor at the University of Vienna, and he joins us now to discuss this in detail. We're seeing deadly demonstrations. Why is Sudan's return or transition to civilian rule stalling so much?
Well, the coup from October was obviously a really tipping point. The military was unhappy to transition the ruling in the Sovereignty Council to a civilian president, and this was the point when they decided to undertake this coup. And now it seems increasingly unlikely that it is or will be possible to undo this coup to return to the fragile arrangement that has been there before between the civilian and the military component. The street seems more and more committed to not accept any participation of the military. And on the other hand, the military seems more and more unwilling to kind of go into another kind of big compromise with the civilian parts of what is there as the government. So it seems at the moment, it is a bit of a deadlock.
Bit of a deadlock. Could they find common ground at all? And is it realistic to actually have civilian rule, given that the country has spent most of the years since independence under military rule?
I mean, at the moment, there is an attempt going on led by the National Ummah Party to negotiate another kind of transitional arrangement that might offer a way out. And the Ummah Party has some buy-in within also the resistance committees, although there is tensions here. So it will be, whatever comes out of this current attempt, it will be very difficult to sell this to the straight. I
And
mean, the argument that you can't keep the military out has always been there. This was the argument behind this fragile kind of transitional arrangement from the beginning, because the military was historically so strong. But on the other hand, I mean, what comes as the other side of this coin is, of course, how then can the military be trusted to prepare elections, to run
yeah.
these elections? There is, even though what Burhan has said before in the interview you just showed, there is the common assumption that there will be militaries running in this election and follow the example of what has been done in Egypt by General al-Sisi in his transition to become like a civilian president.
And we're hearing the demonstrators call now for the resignation of Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. How likely is that to happen?
Well, this is a good question, really. There was obviously this November agreement that reinstated Hamdok has not created the common buy-in that perhaps Hamdok and also the military and some of the internationals, the UN as well, have expected it to generate. Hamdok seems increasingly tired of his role, and he is indeed in a very, very difficult position because he has lost most of his personal credibility by agreeing to this deal. There was rumors over the last 2 weeks that Hamdok would be willing to resign and wants to resign. And there was then, especially from internationals, but also from several Sudanese stakeholders, a push to keep him in place because he has still perhaps an important role to play in whatever comes as a transitional arrangement, because what we have at the moment is basically no tangible arrangement at all. So at the moment, the situation is totally fragile and open.
Totally fragile, open. Earlier you said that there was, a deadlock between the street and the military. Given that, plus reports that the country is practically bankrupt, money from the IMF, US loans, all not coming into the country. What pressure does that put on the street, on the people caught up in the middle of all of this?
I mean, this is really the key question, under what pressure the military actually is. I mean, it's definitely not true that they have no money. They have like international connections still, especially to the Gulf. They have a substantial income from the not always legit gold trade. So there is money in the military, also rapid support forces of General Hemeti. They have funds available. The question is always, to what extent can they sustain it, especially when they have to rule against what is called the street, so against a widespread popular protest. And given also that several other parts of the country, especially Darfur now, look very bleak and unstable. It is at the moment a very open situation. It's difficult to predict really if they can sustain it. But it seems from the statements we hear from the military, they're at the moment willing and kind of confident that they can forge a deal that supports their interests.
Really great to get your analysis, Jan Pospisil, and we wish you a very happy new year. Thank you so much.